All right, y'all. Today we're going to talk about how to ace your next interview and give you some tips and examples on how to do that. And so, pretty much whether you're just getting started or you've been at it for a while, chances are you're going to have to interview for a job, right? Unless you're blessed and you just have someone that owns a company and they're just going to give you the job without interviewing. That's very fortunate for you, but unfortunately, that's not the case for most of us. And so, since a job interview gives you a chance to show your qualifications and make a good impression, um, you want to make sure that you're at your best when you do this, right? So a job interview is not necessarily a bad thing, although it can be nerve wracking. It can also be your time to shine, right? So kind of stand out and show them why you are the candidate that's going to stand out amongst all the other candidates, right? Why you are the best amongst all the others. And so, um, what should you do to ace an interview? There's a lot of different things, y'all. We could go on this topic for hours, but kind of get to the point and kind of be concise with this. So, to increase the chances of having a successful job interview, take the time to prepare before meeting with the hiring team, right? Even the best of us, if we're good at just kind of flying off the cuff, just making things up as we go. That's not necessarily the way to approach a job interview, right? You want to be prepared. You want to have examples. You want to know about the company. Think about topics you're likely to discuss, right? Ways to position yourself as strong of to be as strong a candidate, and opportunities to make a positive impression on the hiring team. Right. So all of these things, you want to be methodical about it. You want to take your time and have a strategy, right? So it's not great to go in and wing it if you don't really care about the job and you're just trying to find something. Yeah, you can go that way, but if it's something that you really want, a job that you're really interested in, or that you really need, you definitely want to be strategic about it. Right. So, what should you do to ace an interview? Include the following in your job interview preparations, right? These are some of the things I was just talking about. Research. You definitely want to learn about as much about the company as you can, right? The last thing you want to do if you really want the job is go in there and be like, hey, what do you all do here? That's not going to fly, right? A company wants to know because all these people that are hiring y'all, they are they come from a place of fear where they don't want to hire the wrong person. If someone hires the wrong person, then they have to explain to their supervisor why they hired the wrong person, right? And then it kind of puts their judgment into question. So they are scared. They want someone who took the time, took the effort to learn about that company because it shows you care. Right. So learn about as much about that company as you can and about that position, also so that you can ask some really intelligent questions at the end of your interview. Right. We'll talk about that later, but that's something that you always want to do is have questions at the end of a job interview for them. Right, planning. So carefully consider what to wear and how to present yourself professionally. Right, depending on the role that you're filling, is going to determine how you're going to dress. Right, they usually say to dress a level above the job you're applying for. So make sure that you take that into consideration and kind of see what the culture is at the workplace and how you should be dressing for that job interview. Another thing, make sure that you are showered and your hair is well combed and that you don't overdo it with the perfume or cologne. Right, so practice. Reflect on the most effective ways to discuss common interview subjects. And so, something that I like to do, I like to use ChatGPT, right? And I like to give ChatGPT the job posting, and I like to ask ChatGPT for it to create a list of possible questions that could come out of this job interview. The few times that I've done it, it hasn't really lined up with the questions, but it kind of over prepared me for the interview, right? So do not be afraid to use artificial intelligence or chat gpt to help you with this process. So here are some seven tips, and just things to keep in mind as you prepare for a successful job interview. Research your potential employer, right? Talked about that earlier. Before your interview, research the organization so you can be knowledgeable about its accomplishments, goals, and mission. And so to do this, so you want to browse the website to learn about its history, recent announcement, executive officers, values, and cultures. Definitely make sure you at least know what their mission statement is if you want to, advance. You definitely want to know more than that, but that's like the least you should know. Search for recent news about the organization to study its latest achievement and future goals. One time I got a job interview that I didn't really think I was going to get, just because the position was so high above me that I really didn't think I would have a chance. So I just did it. But I kind of made the mistake of not reviewing anything about the company or its culture. Right. I did a very brief research on it, but not too much. And then when they asked me some in depth questions. I just sounded clueless because I did not take the time to do this. Right. So again, if it's a job you really want, you can't really overdo it. Don't stand outside the hiring manager's workplace and stalk them. But aside from that, try to do the most research that you can. You can search the company on Indeed's company pages, right? So if you do your research, it's going to help you contextualize your interview answers. With knowledge about the organization, you'll be able to quickly tie your background, qualifications, and achievements back to the company. So something that you can do, like it says right here, go to Indeed and kind of look at their reviews, right? See how they're reviewed there on Indeed, and if you kind of see a theme on all of these reviews, like maybe you are applying for a learning and development role, and you see over and over that employees want more professional development in the workplace. Well, you can kind of, in a very like diplomatic way, in a very non-disrespectful way, let them know that, hey, you can help bridge this gap, right? You have a lot of experience in this. You see that employees are really wanting this, and you can be that person to give them that. That's what you really want in an employee, y'all, is a problem solver. So if you're the person, if you do the research and you can kind of figure out what their main issues are, what their main problem is, in a very respectful way, in a very solution oriented way, you let them know that, hey, I am the person to solve these issues. Don't get too cocky, but let them know that you are the answer to their problems. Whoops. And so make sure you review the job description. Definitely something that you need to do. Study the job listings as you prepare to explain your fitness for the role, right? If you don't know what the role is, how can you tell them that you're the person to excel at this role? Pay attention to keywords such as like the required skills and experience you need, and focus on the responsibilities that a successful candidate is going to have. Right? Then consider how your qualifications and goals align with the description so you can discuss relevant examples with the hiring team. And so a lot of this now, a lot of the guesswork, and there is always going to be some guesswork, but a lot of it has kind of been taken out of the equation with certain tools that you can use like ChatGPT. Right. So again, for this right here, what you can easily do is just kind of put the job description to ChatGPT and ask it to highlight what are some of the top skills that they're looking for in this job, right? What are some of those top skills that align with my resume, and then feed it your resume and kind of see where you can connect those dots, right? You definitely want to make sure that you, in your resume and your job application, you sound as similar as possible to their job description without copying and pasting, right? Because there's these applicant tracking systems that before anyone even sees your application, it gets run through these programs, and if your resume does not match a certain amount of wording that is in the job description, your job application, your resume is not even going to make it to the eyes of a human being. Right. So you want to make sure that you at least get past this first part by doing things like learning the job description, but also using ChatGPT to help you decipher and highlight the main skills that are going to be required. You definitely want to practice answering interview questions, right? Again, this is something that you can use ChatGPT for if you don't have anyone who's willing to listen to you, right? Ask ChatGPT to create a list of questions based off of the job interview, and and you can always make clarifying ask ChatGPT to ask you clarifying questions, right? So I always like to send the prompt, if you have any questions for me to make this as personable as personalized as possible, feel free to ask me those questions, and ChatGPT will ask me the questions it needs to, and then it'll provide a list of questions for you, right? So while your conversation may include several company or job specific topics, most interviews include at least a few standard questions, right? To prepare, review a list of the most popular interview questions and practice how you would answer. Focus your responses on the organization, the position, and your relevant qualifications and goals, right? So again, y'all, I know I'm saying this quite a bit, but ChatGPT is very helpful in this regard.